Welcome, creative beings, to another episode of the MV series, where our goal is to unveil the curtains of the fashion and entertainment businesses and give you guys an inside scoop of who's behind the hottest celebrities and creative projects today. Once again, guys, I'm Maria Von Sotten, or just MVS, and I'm your curator in chief. Our very special creative being interviewed today might be truly the person I've known the longest inside our industry. She is Brazilian, just like me, and we were actually friends in high school, guys, believe it or not. I re encountered her in 2021 in Louis Vuitton's show back in Miami, and I was so proud and thrilled to find out what she has been up to, and I think you guys will be too. Please help me welcome, guys, Ana Cecilia Thompson, who today holds the position of design director at Playlab Inc. and is involved in the most incredible fashion and entertainment projects seen out there today. She's a multidisciplinary creative, guys, and has collaborated in several headlining bodies of work in the last few years, including Louis Vuitton's Spring Summer 23 spin-off show in China, Louis Vuitton's Spring Summer 23 man show in Paris, Post Malone's video I Like You, which was actually directed by Child, who we spoke about in our director's episode. If you haven't seen it, guys, please check it out, as well as Louis Vuitton's Fall Winter 2022 show in Thailand. Anna, welcome to this
Thank you.
crazy thing I decided to call the Envy series. I have to say, I'm so pumped and excited to have you here because you're probably the youngest creative we've ever interviewed up until now in the show.
That's that's hard to believe because I feel so old sometimes.
I know the feeling because it's so much going on during the day, right? And during work that we feel like we've lived several lives.
And also because I feel like there's so many names that are coming up that I never know, and people in the studio are telling me, and I like need to pretend while I'm like Googling. So I feel like the old lady, but yeah.
Out of the loop because you're so busy.
Yeah, I know exactly. Literally.
So, my love, before we dive in deep into
Yes.
your trajectory, life story, and experiences, I would love to start with explaining to our creatives back home what exactly does your job as a design director entail?
Well, exactly is a hard way to explain, but
I know.
on a day-to-day, maybe we have a few projects in the studio. I work for an amazing studio called Playlab.
You guys should check it out, by the way. It's truly incredible, guys.
And I'm sure I'm going to talk about them quite a bit. But we have like an amazing team of designners, and at the studio, I usually take care of the experiential projects. So
Got it.
what that means are Playlab's very well known for our past fashion shows, but
Yes.
we're doing a lot of exhibition design now.
Ooh,
We're
nice.
diving into retail. So I usually take care of a lot of those projects, but
Got it.
I still dabble on the creative strategy whenever they have me. But usually that's, and then I'll just try to lead the team into like a few different projects at a time. Sometimes two, sometimes three, sometimes one, depending on
Wow.
how big the
Wow.
project is.
Got
But that's the day to day, and it really changes every year, to be
Right.
honest, depending on like what the studio interests are at
Right.
the moment. Yeah.
Amazing. So it's really nice to know, and you're part of that experimental situation, making sure that the client is fully happy with the delivery,
Yes.
right, of the
Yes.
setting, of the of the space.
Yes, and a lot of it is client management, and a lot of it is production management. So
Wow.
I like to say that a lot of our projects are 20% creative and then 80% creative problem solving.
Oh wow.
It's always creative, but it's always problem solving. So I think what is really different from us at Playlab is that we can have an idea, and we can have it can be executed in very different ways depending on if there's a budget problem or if there is a timing problem. I think we always try to get the best creative out there,
Right.
and don't see it really as a problem, but more as a challenge that we need to overcome.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And now, my friend, I am curious to know, how did your job at Playlab happen for you? How did that opportunity come about?
It's a funny story. I was actually just started at this another amazing studio, branding studio called High Tide in Brooklyn. You guys should also check it out. Run by the amazing Danny. And I was there for a few months, and I saw an opportunity at Playlab, and I applied for it. I had followed them for a while. They at the time had done a few art installations that I thought were interesting, and I thought it was interesting a creative studio doing art
Right,
installations.
and how they were evolving too, because they're very broad as well, right?
They're
You guys
very
are very broad.
They're very broad and have changed so much since I've been there, but I wanted to be in that environment. So I applied and met up first with Archie, and we really got along, and then eventually met Jeff, and yeah, the rest is
History.
Yes.
I love that. And now that we're talking about Playlab and your
Yeah.
job today, right?
Yeah.
Is there a favorite part of your job for you, like that you absolutely love to do the most?
Honestly, it's being with everyone at Playlab. I think jobs are good. Yes, they're amazing projects, but they're amazing when you're surrounded by amazing people.
I love that you're saying that. This is so important because we always mention teamwork here.
It's so important.
It's everything, right?
I always think that one mind is a few minds are better than one.
I agree.
And I have a lot of respect not only for Archie and Jeff, but everyone I work with. I've been at Playlab for 4 years.
Wow.
There's
Wow.
a coworker that's been there for even longer called Dylan. And
I've seen him in your
Yes,
Instagram.
yes.
He's always with you.
Yeah, and they're all good friends, and I think that's the beauty of a small studio is that I feel like I'm friends with everyone. I hope that we create a friendly environment as we grow.
Yes.
We moved here to LA, just the four of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I don't know how those guys convinced me.
You're like, well, I'm here.
Yes, our little frat club moved here.
The only girl.
The only
standing.
girl for a while, yes. And we made a conscious effort to change that for obvious reasons. And now we have amazing women in the office, and we're growing. And again, that's like my favorite part of being at Playlab is not only creating and having the opportunity to create
Right.
these crazy things that we do, but creating it alongside like such amazing human beings.
I couldn't relate to that more. I seriously talk to my team about it all the time. Like I could not even have started this project without them.
Yeah.
It was something I was so afraid to do because I was, styling for over a decade,
I know.
and teamwork is truly everything.
It really is.
Right? And now my next question to you is, did you have any mentors or supporters along the way which helped you keep going on your creative journey, inspired you, or even helped you make connections and evolve in your craft?
I've had a few, like, I always see mentors in different parts of my life. Like there's on my personal life that's been there my whole life, which are my parents.
You're amazing parents.
I know that you know them. And they're characters on both sides, and I wouldn't be here obviously without them. And
I agree. They have been amazing.
and even though I would say that they don't fully understand what I do, but they really try, and that's everything. But I don't think it's every parent, and I think a lot of people can relate to this.
Yes.
That support going into the creative field, especially when you're trying to figure out what you're doing.
It's difficult.
Especially when you're doing something that you didn't go to school for.
I know that feeling fully.
So I have an amazing mom that's a huge cheerleader. I have an amazing dad who's, again, also a great cheerleader and fan, and a very supportive family. So that's already like a basis that I think I'm very privileged to have.
Agree.
And in school, I did have an amazing thesis professor that called Juliette Cesar. And
Oh, wow.
I don't even know how much, if she really knows how much she's helped me in the past.
How
And
beautiful.
yeah, I think
Maybe she'll know now.
maybe yeah, now it's out of the box. But I think her thinking and allowing, because when you're in school, you're really stuck to what you think you should do. And
kind of follow always like what has been done, right?
follow the
Already.
paths, follow the rules. You know me, I came from like a British school, so I'm always very like, I need to follow the rules.
Yes.
And it took me until my senior year in Parsons to really figure out that like, no, I don't really need to figure out, like, I need to figure out what I want to do for myself.
Absolutely.
And when I was asking her all these questions, and she was like asking me back, like, what do you want? What do you want?
Wow.
And,
Almost like a psychologist, right? Like bringing it back to you. Like you answer me how you want to do it.
It was like an existential crisis. Like it was amazing. And I think unknowingly she was like helping me realize that I wanted to go beyond graphic design and beyond what I was doing there. And she allowed me to have like thesis that was kind of like a business plan. I don't know. It was kind of a mess in that way, but it was my mess, and
A beautiful one.
yes, I hope so. But so I'm very thankful for her, and like we've kept in touch, and she's been supportive.
Incredible.
But then I will say that like my bigger mentors in my career are Archie and Jeff.
Yes, I know how much you admire and appreciate them. I know
Yes.
that. And you say it constantly. Not only I've heard that from you, but
Yeah.
also I've seen it in your social media.
Yes.
And you're constantly crediting them, thanking them for giving you the opportunity. And I'm sure they feel the same way about you.
I hope they do. I think I tell them how much respect I have for them. We obviously joke around a lot in the office.
How
and-
amazing. It's
Yeah.
like you have to have fun, right? That's another thing we always say here. If not, what are we even doing?
Exactly. We have to have fun. At the same time, we're not saving a world crisis. We're trying to bring beauty and fun to the world.
I
So
love that.
at the same, like, we have to put things into perspective, and sometimes I am a little bit cynical. I'm like, oh, it's just a fashion show, it's just this, but like they are great reminders of like, no, it's not just that. It's
Right.
like we're bringing culture, we're helping like certain people in certain times. So it's pretty amazing journey, and I'm not afraid to say that I am what I've done in my life and what I'm proud in my career are because of the two of them.
Aw,
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So,
That's beautiful. I
yeah.
love to hear that, and that relationships, between bosses and people working for them has become this positive,
Yes.
because there is a track record in the industry of it being sometimes a little bit difficult, people not appreciating their team. So
Yeah.
it's so beautiful to hear that a company like Playlab appreciates the people, and really
100%.
gives them all the support that they need to grow.
Yeah.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
And now that we understand, friend, a little bit more of your scope of work today, let's take it back to your beginnings, shall we?
Yes, let's.
We know you're Brazilian, like me, and I would like to share that, guys, we both grew up in São Paulo, where we met
Yes.
back in high school, like I mentioned to you guys at the beginning of this episode. But your parents are from Rio de Janeiro,
Yes.
and Cariocas da Gema, right?
Yes, they are, and they don't let me forget it, especially my mom. Yes, my whole family is from Rio. I'm first born in São Paulo, actually. Even my brother was born in Rio. So there's a big part of my culture is from Rio. If you're,
I know that, yeah.
But I am very much a São Paulo girl.
Yeah, we're Paulistas. We can't deny that.
We can't deny it. I'm a big city girl. Not that Rio's not a big city, but it's not the same.
It is what it is. Even
is
though
what it
they're
is.
like 30 minutes away, guys, by plane, right?
Yes.
It's easy to be in and out.
There's
between those cities.
a slight competition that I would
It's
equate
so
to,
true.
equate
Please
to
say
New
it.
York and LA. Yeah.
It's true, because LA is more laid back, we would call it, right?
Yeah, I would say that, yes.
And New York, a little bit more fast paced, and we do see that between Rio, which is
Yeah.
a beach city, and it's more chill, and São Paulo is definitely more fast paced.
Yes.
New York, right?
Yes.
So, Ana, my friend, growing up, did you already have any indications that you would end up in the creative field? Were you already passionate about certain things that you probably do today?
So it's funny because I have an older brother, João Pedro,
Yes.
and growing up, it was funny because he's an amazing drawer. He
I did not know that, actually.
I know. You know my brother, so it's like very surprising.
Yeah.
But he's an amazing drawer.
Wow.
He's a much better sketcher than I am.
Ooh, you
I
have some
hope-
competition.
I hope he doesn't listen to this because it's the first time I'll admit it. But and I had this thing that I would have like my Harry Potter diary, and I would write like numbers and numbers, and I would do sums of them because
Okay.
I was obsessed with math, and so.
You were a great student. I do remember that. Am I crazy?
I think you're crazy. I was a pretty average student. My brother was an amazing student.
Okay.
Yes. But my dad always said like I was good at the subjects I liked. So.
But that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does make sense. But eventually I did, and I think it is to my brother's credit. He really got me into music. I really got into films. He like sat me down as a 10-year-old and made me watch like Raging Bull and made me watch like a lot of the classics. Like
Yeah.
we would watch like all of the Godfathers in one sitting, all of the Matrix in one sitting. So it was kind of like a bullying into culture,
Yes.
which I really appreciate. And so for a long time, I wanted to be a movie director.
Oh
And yeah,
wow,
so
that's crazy. I'm sure you would have been a good one too.
I don't know. I felt like I couldn't tell a story as well as, or I didn't have a story to tell, at least like when I first started figuring out what I wanted to do. And I actually went to a film camp
Ooh.
for 4 weeks, actually, with Michael, our mutual
Oh,
friend. But
Michael.
he was in the acting program, and I was in the film program, and we were 14, so you
Oh
can
wow.
imagine how
I'm sure you guys
fun
had
that was.
fun.
We had fun. But honestly, that was like the beginning of me realizing what I actually really liked to do and what I was good at, because I started understanding Final Cut Pro and editing programs, and that was my introduction to like computers. And I didn't even know Photoshop at that time. And I started learning all these programs out of need, because it was like, I want to create this, but I can't. And like, thank God for YouTube, because I started learning all of these things. Eventually, I did go to summer school at Parsons. I
Uh-huh.
was privileged enough to be able to do that for graphic design, and I was like, okay, that's it.
That's it.
That's
This
it.
is my thing.
That's
Wow,
it.
that's
Yes.
incredible. That's so I think that was a really beautiful start to your journey
Yes.
and to really help you start understanding where really your skills and your passions fit into this industry, right? Into this
Yes.
crazy industry.
Yes.
Which I think for a lot of creatives is hard. It's something we touch upon here a lot too, is really finding like what is your position in the field, because there's so many options
It's so
behind the
weird.
scenes
Yeah.
and doing these creative things, right?
Yeah. It's so weird to figure out what you want to do. And like I knew I wanted to, like, because I was very much that, like, I don't know if here in the US Art Attack was like as big.
Oh, I love that. I
Art
know
Attack.
Art
I know
Attack.
you know
I
Art
watched
Attack. I
that
feel
as
like
a
it's
kid.
a British
Yeah.
show. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
American, but
I watched it all the time, and the guy would do these crazy projects on the
crazy
grass.
thing. So I was
and-
like,
yeah.
I want to be that guy.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, and eventually I use it as a reference for Louis Vuitton show, but which is like full circle. But
Oh wow,
I
no
know.
way. Which show? Now I'm curious to know which show was
I
that.
think it was FW20 where we had the clouds and the tools,
Oof.
like those massive
I
tools.
love that
so like the
show.
set of the Art Attack had those like massive tools. And when we were talking with Virgil and coming up with the idea, I was like, oh, like that reminds me of Art Attack. So anyway.
I love that.
So it came right back to that. But yeah, like I knew I liked doing things with my hands. I'm by trade not an amazing sketcher that's known in the studio. I'm pretty good at computers, but I wanted to figure out ways to like say my ideas.
Right.
And then eventually, yeah, graphic design was the way to do that.
That's amazing. Now, amiga,
Yes.
I wanted to start understanding and telling our creative beings back home how your career path started to take place, right? Since we talked a little bit about your childhood, your interests, how they flourished, let's put it that way. So, where did you go to college, and what course did you study, and why?
So I did eventually go to Parsons after doing the summer school there, and it was great. I went in for communication design, which is their graphic design program.
Okay.
It's a big program at the school. Everyone knows Parsons through their fashion program. And I think I went to Parsons because I had somewhat of an interest in fashion.
Right.
My mom, way back when, had a store with actually Michael's mom. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, it was an amazing store. Yeah.
So you and Michael truly go way back, like before birth, basically.
Michael and I know each other since we're 3 years old. Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah, but so I had an interest in fashion, and so I chose Parsons because I knew it was like there was somewhat of a connection there, and it was in New York,
Right.
which is everyone's dream, or at least my dream. And it was great because I started getting, like, I had that interest in fashion, and I got my first internship in my sophomore year at Philip Lim.
Oh, amazing. Love
Yeah.
Philip.
Yeah, it was great experience. I was like intern, so I didn't even have obviously a relationship with Philip, but I had an amazing boss at the time, Ken, and I did a lot of the grit work, but never complained because
It's part of it.
I think the bigger part of internships are being around everything that's happening, not
Being
necessarily
exposed.
by doing, but by exposing. And I think the best bosses I've had is not like the ones that necessarily said like, oh, you can do this, or it's just allowing me to be part of the environment at times. So even being part of like the shoots and things like that was like so helpful and like sponge like for me. So
Yes. I think that is super important.
yeah, so it was amazing. And I started getting like I had an interest in fashion still, and I moved on, and I had a summer internship at Chanel. I think the good thing about being in New York was that I could get those internships, and I was advised at my sophomore year not to take the internship, and I'm not
Oh
saying that
wow.
everyone should.
Right.
I had the opportunity to take one, and then I did the Chanel one, and it was like way more of a structured one. It was like a summer one. It was
Okay.
the end of my sophomore year, and it was amazing to understand being in an office that way. So that's what like I gained from that experience.
Got
Most
you.
of it, like it was being in a structured environment, and everyone there was very helpful and like very patient with me. But it was much more of a serious environment than
You had,
Philip.
right.
Yes, of course,
Which was
which was a good,
balance because you had a
contrast.
little
Yeah.
bit of both, right? Because it
Yes.
could be either or depending on the company or what you're doing as well.
Exactly. And then from that, I was like, oh, maybe I'm not that into fashion, not because of anything that happened in the internships, but I, as a grown teenager, is what I call people in college,
Yeah.
is I was like changing and figuring out what I wanted to do. So I've always had interest in music, always had interest in film. So I got an internship at Viacom.
Oh wow.
So that was like an interesting experience because it was like corporate like Chanel in terms of like a big company, but very different in terms of what I was doing there. And it was a good experience because nothing there was bad, but it just showed me again like what I didn't want to do, which
Absolutely.
I think is very important for people to stick out for internships. Like just try it because you don't know what you want. Like you might think you know what you want, but I had to try like different industries to figure that out. And eventually, I went to my longest internship, which was Milk Studios.
Milk Studios.
Yes.
That one I think I knew about.
Yes. Milk, I was there for I feel like 5 months. So it was like a mixture of summer and like a little bit of my semester.
Got it.
And when I'm saying like I'm going to school and I would like figure out my classes so that I could like I would
Work.
only take night classes so I could work. But I
You were
loved
committed. You were committed.
I just loved it. I loved putting it to practice, although school is very important. And I
Yeah.
think Parsons was really great into putting you in like a career setting.
Absolutely.
I just loved doing and seeing like something getting made. So that's like something I've always liked. So at Milk, I actually thought I was making a difference. Like I'd had a little bit of experience. Obviously, I was just still an intern, but they were starting a new division inside Milk. So there was like a lot of moving parts, and it was just
Right.
interesting to be in that environment and seeing like a bigger company, like a medium-sized company also like growing.
Absolutely.
It was even before Milk Makeup. So
Oh wow.
and I
Which is
remember
huge.
yeah, which is huge and amazing. And I just remember hearing like murmurings about that was happening. And then eventually I did get an internship at a smaller studio that eventually became my entry level job.
Amazing, amazing. And I think it's so crucial that we're speaking about this here because, guys, sometimes, people are already so eager to enter the field, right? That they are basically maybe not open to internships. And like Anna said here, I think internships are not only crucial to learn what you don't want,
Yes.
right? And kind of set you on the right path, but also to just kind of set you out to really experience everything like a sponge and
Yeah.
gather different types of information for your growth and to understand really where you fit in
Yes.
into this crazy world, right? So I guess you also already answered my next question, which I love. We're connected here, right? Because you already said what was your first gig or job after graduating. So you already pretty much had that set for you. So it was pretty much easy to already enter that creative field because you had all of that exposure before and already knew a little bit more what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, I knew what I wanted to do, but I was still experimenting, and it was really kind of not a gamble, but I was in between like going down the graphic design route that like I could
Right, because you studied that, of course.
I studied that and figuring out like I could get these interviews, and I did get interviews at like studios that were very graphic design based, and as a freshman were my dream, right?
Yeah.
And letting go of like the dream that is like 4 years old, right? It's not even that old. But letting go of that and saying like, no, I have a gut feeling that I should stay at this place, which was called Studio Institute, and they did give me a lot of opportunities to explore just because they were also small and young. So there was like the first opportunity that I had to delve outside of graphic design,
Yeah.
for just because of the need of the studio, but also uh, like my interests were changing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that something we also say here many, many times is it's so normal and natural. Like you just said, that
Yep.
your dreams change, that your right,
Yes.
your desires change when you start finding out other stuff in the field. And I
Yes.
think that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened to you here. And I love that you were so open and flexible to
Yep.
really allow you to hear your heart and what truly like moved you at that point. So amiga,
Yeah.
since you mentioned, right, you had this job right out of college, that was your
Yeah.
first experience. So glad you were able to already enter the field right
Yeah.
away, which not everybody gets to. So I'm really, really happy you did. So after that first experience, that first job, how did your career evolve from there? What other opportunities did you have, which brought you to the place you are today, which is Playlab, of course?
So the funny thing is that we just talked about me figuring everything out. I
Right.
think that was the moment that I realized I don't know anything that I want.
I've had those moments too.
So I think I want to say I was like around 24 at the time.
Okay.
And
Still a baby.
still a baby. And I don't know, like, and I went freelance for a little bit, for I think like 7 months. And it really was the moment I was like, I'm not cut out for this. Like, I don't think this is what I want to do. I don't think I'm good at design. I don't think anything is working. Like, maybe I should go to business school and like figure something
and just
else
figure
out.
something
I'm still
else.
young.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
how crazy that even went through your head, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I was like, oh, like I have to wait to apply like the next semester or whatever. I forget what time of the year it was. So, but I was like, I know for a fact, like I tried it for 6 months and freelance is not working for me. And so I was like, I'll find a job until eventually I go to business school.
Right.
So also thinking that I would get into business school so easily. But
I think you would. I think you would.
Thank you. But so that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should go back to my roots. Like I was like so against going down the graphic design route, and I was like, why was I so against it? Blah blah blah. And so that's when I started working for High Tide, which is a primarily branding studio.
Got it.
And that was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Honestly, just like seeing how being in touch with a lot of startups, because that's like most of the clients that they have. So it was like amazing to listen to all these stories. The people there were amazing again. And I just I had the best experience, but deep inside of me, I knew something was missing.
Right.
I missed being like, although I like did see a lot of brands come to life, and like there is satisfaction in that, but I didn't have the satisfaction of being part of an experience and being around people, which eventually I started noticing is what I like to do.
You wanted to do more.
Yeah. And I
You're
think
great with people.
I beg to differ, but I think it is something I inherited from my mother, who loves to be like, she is the life of the party. I'm not the life of the party, but she likes to be around people, and it's something I saw my whole life from her, and it's something that gives me comfort. So somewhat in work, I like to be around people and communicate with a lot of people. So I knew there was something missing there, and when I saw the opportunity with Playlab, although
something sparked, right?
There was a gut feeling there. And I even remember speaking to my dad at the time, and I was like, I just started this job. I don't think it's right to leave. And he was like, there's no right or wrong right now. You're like, I think at that time I was like 26.
Right.
And I was like, he was just like, follow your gut. Like, I'm here for you,
nice
which
and
is again, the privilege
yeah.
of having supportive parents. And I did the jump, and it was the best thing I've ever done.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And you know, the reason why I think I said you're so great with people, right? I'll tell you why, guys. When I was in high school, I had just actually moved from, believe it or not, from Venezuela, Caracas. My dad was working there, you remember. And I didn't have that many friends in Sao Paulo. And Chichi truly was one of the few people that, like, when I first met her, just opened my heart. You know, she was so welcoming to me, and we had the similar vibe. We
Yeah.
joked about similar things. She would get my quirky sense of humor so well. And so I just think that it's not even that, you know, life of the party. It's more like, I just think you're so human and so humane, right, with everyone, because
Same
I've had
with
that
you.
experience with you when I didn't have many friends, and you welcomed me so much. So, friend, now I
Wasn't
wanted
hard
to know.
welcome you, by the way.
I love you, because I just think, you know, when it vibes, right?
Of course.
And we had that connection,
Yeah,
but
we
truly,
did.
you know, some people are not as welcoming, especially when you're kind of in your teenage years, which was my case, 14, 15. And she and Michael, which we spoke about
We
so
spoke
much
it,
here.
yeah.
Michael is gonna be famous after this happens.
As he should.
As he should. He
Yeah, as
deserves
he
that.
should.
You know, they truly became great friends to me, and made me feel at home in Sao Paulo for a long time. It was special. Oh, friend, love you. Thank you. And guys, so now, you know, going back to our story here to tell you guys a little bit more, I wanted you to tell our creatives back home, which I think it's so important to talk about the downs and the ups, right? So
Yes.
people really know what this is about. So what is the biggest struggle, amiga, you've had along your career?
I think a little, the biggest struggle was kind of around that area.
Right.
Like that I
figured.
just spoke. Yeah, it's just, it was a really tumultuous time, just like figuring out what you want to do, which I think I had it like late in life, which a lot of people have at 18 when you're trying to figure out your major in college. And
True.
I had the existential crisis a little bit crazy later. But I think I will still have one. I think everyone has phases. I still think I'm going to change a lot, but it was very much of a struggle because it was a time I least believed in myself.
I know how that feels.
Yeah,
I know
and
that.
it's hard. It's like it was harder than when I've had people in my career that didn't believe in me. It was harder to not believe in yourself.
That's so
when,
powerful.
When people didn't believe in you. And not that that's not hard to like listen to rejection. It's not, it is
always
really hard.
Yeah.
But when you lose faith in yourself, I think that's the biggest struggle.
What an amazing, amazing thing to say. Seriously.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then who will, right? And I know it's cliche to say that, but it's the truth.
But it's like what RuPaul says, you know?
I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And talking about struggles, my friend, what are specific struggles now that you have to deal with as a design director on a day-to-day basis? You know?
On a day-to-day basis, I think it's very project dependent. Sometimes it is a production issue. Sometimes it's a time issue. Sometimes it's doing too much at once. Sometimes, and which is the hardest for me, is having creative block and having now that I'm in a position that's like a little bit more managerial. It's
right.
like figuring out when when you do have that creative block and how can you still lead, because I don't think any idea is above anyone. Like, and I really that was like something that Jeff and Archie really showed to us, that like their ideas are not above ours ideas, and I don't believe my ideas are above anyone's at the studio. But there was like times that like people are looking at you for guidance, and you have a creative block, but you have to like figure out how to like manage that. Yeah, how to unblock it. And sometimes it's really hard, but like sometimes that's the amazing moment because you're surrounded by amazing creatives, and that's when they shine. And that's like why having such a supportive studio is crucial. Like, it's crucial. It's so crucial.
Because when you're down, someone else is up, and they'll pick you up from there, right?
Exactly. And life happens as well. Like, there's times that you're not in a good mood. Something else is going on, and it's just like there's so much going on. So I would say like my day-to-day struggle is just there's always a lot going on. Mm-hmm. We are a small studio. We are 10 people.
And you do so much.
We do so much. It's super impressive. And I like that we're small. And I think we're going to grow.
Keep growing, yeah.
Yeah, keep growing. But it is the growing pains. But like, I hate using the word pains because it's like part of it.
Yes.
You know? It's like, it's great. It's just like, it's the good struggle, and that's what my dad always says. It's like good problems to have.
Exactly.
Like when I'm like complaining on the phone to him, he's like, "No, those are all good problems. Yeah.
Those are good things. Yeah. You're gonna grow from this too."
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so, talking, about these whatever problems you have on a day-to-day basis, how do you actually manage those problems when they occur? Meaning, do you have any plan Bs? Like, let's say something, a project is going on and something is not according to plan. Is there a plan B? Is there, something you're ready to put in place?
Yeah, I think plan Bs are not, I don't think we usually, sometimes we do. We usually have a plan B like in our pocket, which I think is like a
time is scarce, as you say.
Yeah, yeah,
and a lot is
exactly.
going on.
Sometimes it's like the problem, like the problem that arouses is not the problem that you're expecting. Sometimes I will think it's a budgetary problem and it's not. It's actually like a structural one.
Ooh.
And then you're not expecting that. So you're like, oh, what I was expecting as the plan B, actually, like I can't use that plan B because I don't have a plan B for the actual problem.
Wow.
So that happens a lot in what I mentioned before, which is like creative problem solving. So all the projects and everything that you see, I can say about the projects at Playlab, but I think for everyone is like what you're seeing is the plan C, D, E, Z. You are seeing like, you're not seeing like the first idea.
Right.
And we like to show our process on our Instagram, and you can see amazing sketches by Archie and Jeff, who actually know how to sketch, but I don't. And now we have other amazing sketches, so look out. But
Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned. So you see from the sketches that like we are figuring things out, and like how different it is from the end result, because like, again, it's like life happens, production happens, but like, and sometimes better ideas come along. And I think that was a lot of the time what would happen in the process of working with Virgil. Like he, at the end of the day, it might have been 1 month before the show, but he had a better idea. And it's our job to figure out how to make that idea come to life. And sometimes it's just like, it is, sometimes there's not a way to do it for this show, or there's not a way to do it for this project, but like it does stay in the back burner.
Right.
Like, it'll come to life.
To be reused at some point.
Exactly,
I love that. It's always to not also get so married to an idea and be flexible, right?
Yeah, it's being flexible. That's the word. And honestly, being humble, because like their ideas are great. I think they're like, again, like 20% or 10% of what we're creating, but like everyone has an idea.
Yes.
Like the whole thing is about executing it and being creative about how you execute that idea, because
execution is truly everything too, right? If you can't execute, then it's just an idea.
It is. And then in the execution, not losing sight of the idea, it is like a balancing
situation.
Job.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love that. And you know that when I first approached you, I myself had almost a misconception about the work that you do. So my question to you here is, I'm always gonna be transparent here with you guys. Is there any misconceptions, right, about the work that you do today as a design director?
I have misconceptions myself. I don't really know I'm kidding, but we like to say that we're a multidisciplinary studio because that is the truth. Yeah. I don't believe that someone that comes in as an architect, that they can't have an opinion on a branding project, although they might be working mostly on like the architectural element of something. Like that's why it's like so different than a few other studios and what is like the industry norm. And I get asked a lot like questions from friends or that are looking for studios like Playlab, and there are a few. It's just like difficult to explain. So people ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, I tell them the projects I work on, because it's like a better explanation
than the actual position.
Than the actual position, because a design director can be for everything. You can have design directors at a branding agency, an advertising agency, like a production agency. Like, right. I really don't know, but we try to dabble in a bunch of things, and I might be doing something completely different in a year. Like I am doing all these architectural projects because I had interest in them, and Archie and Jeff were nice enough to give me the opportunity to try it out, and now that's all I do. Right. So it is, and that's the past 4 years. I don't know what's in the next 4 years. Right.
Which is beautiful. A box of surprises. Which is so nice. And my love, now talking, we love to give advices to our creatives back home. So, what is an advice you have for them, for creatives trying to start a career in this field and who possibly want to become a design director, such as yourself one day? Where and how can they start?
I think obviously working hard and being kind are
Yes.
things that go above and beyond more than you would think. Being humble, being open, being flexible. But in terms of like getting your footing, it's like ask for help. Ask people that you admire if they have 5 minutes for coffee. Don't ask them for a job. Ask them like legitimately like questions. I think a lot of the time, like people do appreciate that.
That is so true.
Sometimes, like when you're fishing for an internship and stuff, like sometimes there are positions and it's
Right.
important to do that. But I think if you ask a lot of questions like that are more thoughtful or like different than what they are expecting, like you're gonna get the answers that you're not expecting and
Right.
learn a lot. Like I did while I had that phase that I almost went to business school.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to do a bunch of things that I didn't end up doing. And I met people in that industry that were kind enough to meet with me. And I realized from like 3 questions in, I'm like, oh, actually, that's not what I want to do. So the more you talk to people, the more you try things out. Like, even if you try a job out that you're there for 2 years and you're like, oh, why did I stay there for 2 years? Like that, take that experience as like things that I don't want to do. And
Absolutely.
then you place that for your next job.
Yeah.
There's so much that you can learn from things that you don't like. That you would I in my career have learned more from things that I don't like rather than the things that I do like, because I never thought I would like want to go back into fashion again. I never thought I would enjoy doing fashion shows
And
again.
look at you.
And
You're in the center of it all.
And we had an amazing experience. And yeah, it's just like surprise yourself, be curious is
Number one.
the cliche of it
The
all.
cliche.
Yeah.
And now I want to enter a little bit into lessons that you've had. What is the biggest or most valuable lesson you have learned throughout your journey as a creative, which you would like to share with our peeps back home?
I think, I know I've said it again, but I have to say, like, the lesson is being kind to people you work with. There's no reason to raise voices. There's never a reason to disrespect someone. I really, truly believe that people that go further in their career are because they're kind. There are obviously examples of people that are not kind and make it.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, the people that you want to do your best for are the people that are kind.
Absolutely.
And kindness is not something that you find in this industry.
It's not. It's not.
As often as you would want to think in 2023. So I think that's the biggest lesson I've had, because there are times that I've been frustrated. There are times that people have screamed at me,
Yeah,
and I'm not exaggerating.
I know the feeling.
There are times that I've had people, and particularly men, not believe in what I do, or there are times that I'm presenting a whole project and they will ask my boss a question because I'm the woman in the room. Those things happen and they do tick you off, but that's no reason for me to not be kind back.
To the next, right?
To the next, not even the next person back. It's like there's no reason, if someone is disrespectful towards you, that to not be kind back. Obviously, there are exceptions.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes there are exceptions. Yeah. But I can't emphasize that enough.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think, just listening to you saying that, and I know your heart, and I have felt the same way you have. And I think that for sure, when a client is kind, to you, it's just like you want to do triple the work and make sure that it's
100%.
so impeccable for them. And I've definitely had a client that showed me a lot of kindness. I was with him for almost 6 years.
Wow.
And, I've had other clients that weren't very kind throughout my journey as well. And so I remember just the pleasure that I had serving him and supporting him and
Yeah.
collaborating with him because of the way he treated me and my whole team. Like, no matter if there was a newbie in the team, like
Yeah.
an intern or like the assistant of the assistant, he would stop, kiss the person, hug the person, you know, and
Exactly.
do you want to eat anything? Let's all sit down. Let's
Yeah.
all like, and it was just, it changed my day, you know, to have him in my life.
And it changes your vision of like not outside of work, how to be around people. I think a great example, like I think everyone knew how Virgil was.
Yes, it was well known, right?
A very generous and kind person, and we've had also the pleasure of working with Post Malone, who's the kindest man I've come to meet. So it's
Aw,
there are
how
people in that
beautiful.
position that are kind. So there's no reason why you why someone back home can't be.
Exactly.
You know.
That was so valuable, guys.
Yeah.
Please hope you took notes and listen to that well, because that might be one of the most valuable lessons
Yes.
to ever give. So now I want to know a little bit more about how would you describe your aesthetic?
My aesthetic. I would say it's hard because I have put a little bit of my personal work a little bit on the back burner because I've been really focused on Playlab.
Right.
But so on my personal aesthetic, obviously some of it comes forward within Playlab and the projects I
Yes.
work in. But I really don't believe in having an aesthetic.
Love
I think
that.
I believe in coming from like the same thought process of like how you go about an idea and the ways you can achieve that idea, and like figuring out the process of like how you come about that in terms of a studio and a little bit more structured. I think that's like what I would call the aesthetic of the studio. I don't think we have like a visual aesthetic. People
Right.
might disagree, but that's my personal
Right.
goal.
Right.
And I think a few of the projects that are coming up, I think people will see that we challenge what people believe is the aesthetic of Playlab.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's a great response right there.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see, because I agree. Sometimes you gotta be flexible too to the client,
Yeah, exactly.
and I think it's all about adapting and thinking outside of the box and really bringing the ideas, regardless of what the client needs or wants, right?
Yeah.
To adapt to that. So I do get that. Where do you draw inspiration from, and how is your creative process like? For example, how does an idea start for you?
Okay, so I would say that's like what puts Playlab apart. We are famous for our decks. Now we are making them a little bit shorter, but we used to use a lot of references.
Oh wow.
And what is something that I really connected with them is that they also love art, and it's like it's so cliche to say, but we have like a deep knowledge of art history. So when it is a project that's about like fashion or exhibition, we try not to use any references around that.
Right.
We usually use art installations or even like art manifestos to explain an idea, but we also get very involved in pop culture and movies actually, and
Yes.
we like to have like that connection where people can understand like it's like not too like heady, right? It's like a mix
Yeah.
between like I can put a reference on the Truman Show next to something like
Oh.
Art Attack. So
Oh,
like
I
it can
love it.
it really can like come from both sides. So it's not like fully like what I call heady. But I think we like to mix references a lot. And then in terms of creating an idea, I think like when someone is briefing us on a project, like I think ideas come up like
Yes,
pretty
absolutely.
quickly.
Absolutely.
And we like to write things down before we even like get references and stuff like that. So I like to tell everyone to like write elevator pitches for their ideas.
Oh, amazing.
So sometimes like the elevator pitch could be like a paragraph long with like 3 bullet points, and then another one could be like a nugget of an idea where it's like 5 words, and I will be like, oh, what is that? Like, because like whenever you have a nugget of an idea, like that could be like the seed for something else that someone in the studio might have an idea for, and then we grow all the ideas from that and attach visuals to that. Sometimes visuals are already attached because that's how we explain ideas to each other. So there's a lot of like explaining ideas within the studio
Absolutely.
and presenting internally. a lot of brainstorming within each teams. And then there are also the personal projects in the studio that like the self-initiated like Playlab projects that usually Dylan, my coworker, works on, coworker and friend.
Coworker and friend Dylan.
But he does a great job that he like gathers time in the studio that we can talk as like the whole studio, so everyone's involved. And then we spend like an hour like thinking of an idea, like, or we do this like voting system. So
very democratic for you guys. I love the process.
Very democratic, and it's like very exciting. And I hear from everyone at the studio, like people that been there for a year or even a few months, like that's some of their favorite moments in the studio. And what I love about that, because that is what Playlab was in New York when we were really small. Like all the projects, everyone worked on them. So now that we got bigger and we are a little bit more structured, not everyone gets to work on all projects, but we try to keep everyone up to date. But having those projects where we're now calling them proposals, it's really fun to work with on everyone in the studio, because it's like, you don't know what someone that's like working in graphic design thinks about a shoe, while like an architect thinks about a shoe. And like we have this brainstorm. So really like amazing ideas come from those brainstorms.
I love that. And I love that you guys make it really about the team and really give everyone a voice and a chance, which is so important. Not everybody works like that today.
No.
That's what we're trying to change here too, by listening to amazing creatives such as yourself and really give everybody a seat at the table. You know, and just I think that really what any creative is looking for is just like the reassurance that they mean something for a project or for, you know, their boss or for whoever they're working with, right? So it's so beautiful that you guys come up with ideas together.
We try.
And friend, I do want to know, is there any project, brand, or artist you've worked with which was possibly a goal or bucket list wish for you? What has been maybe your favorite project of today?
I think favorite project is no like contest. It was honestly the relationship that Archie and Jeff had with Virgil, and eventually I had the privilege to working with him for 2 years so closely. I think it's not only like the project, but that relationship and learning from someone that was so important to so many people, and seeing how he put a lot of groups of people together. It became kind of a family.
I love that.
So that was amazing. It was truly a privilege that I'll carry for the rest of my life, tell my grandkids.
Yes, like I did that.
And again, having the opportunity of something of that budget and getting into the Louvre and seeing something that you created come to life.
Right. What year was that? Do you remember?
The Louvre one was last year.
Last year, right?
Yes. After everything that happened, but even seeing like from afar from COVID and seeing everything from Zoom and like just seeing everyone experiencing it, it goes back to like what I figured out what I like is seeing that and creating experiences for people. So again, I think like favorite projects are hard, and I think our relationship also with Reese Cooper, who's an amazing LA designer, and being able to call them as friends. He's amazing.
He's amazing. I've worked with them with a few clients before. He's incredible.
He is incredible. He's like really like I don't even say emerging because he's there. He's like he's a really talented designer, and seeing that growth is really special, and having that relationship. So my favorite projects are around that. Honestly, like those are the ones that really
have touched you the most.
And like I'm the most proud of, because again, it's working with kind people and working with people that you respect and you admire.
Absolutely.
Really, I think comes down to the best like
projects you can have. I couldn't agree more. And you know, bringing it now to the industry today, right, how would you like to see the industry evolving, and is it more open to young talent and out of the box ideas than it ever was before, you think?
I think it is open. I think it's hard to decide what industry we're talking about, because there's such a difference between the fashion industry, the music industry, and even the luxury industry as a whole. I think there's a lot of work to do. I agree. I think there's been a lot of change.
Yeah.
I think there's the amazing thing about Instagram and social media is having people discovered, but I still don't think people are getting their dues.
I agree.
I don't think they're being paid enough. I think still it's like hard to explain to some people why it's valuable that this person created even a logo for you.
Yes.
It's like hard to sometimes fight for like freelancers to get paid what they should be paid.
That is so important that you're saying that.
No, but it's true. Like I see it, and it's hard because like sometimes it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
But I think we try to do the best we can to give those opportunities, and Jeff and Archie are great examples of that. Like working with people and listening to everyone that DMs them and giving them the opportunity when someone is like kind again and humble.
Oh my God, yes.
Like people are willing to help. So I see that through them, and I see when they're not getting their dues, and it really it hurts. It's like it hurts, and I think we obviously still need a lot of BIPOC people. We still need a lot of women.
Yeah, for sure.
In the fashion industry, I still think we need more women as head of houses.
I agree.
Designing for women and for men. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of change, but I think we're moving towards the
something
right direction.
better. I agree.
I just wish it was faster.
I know, right? Sometimes it does feel a little slow moving, guys, and you know, I think that's why we decided to start the MV series too, right? So it's hopefully we can serve as another vehicle to really improve the pace of this change we so desperately want to see in our beautiful, beautiful industries, right? Yes. And finally, amiga, what is next for Ana? Any future projects or future goals and dreams we can know about here exclusively at the MV series?
That's funny that you say that, because a lot of people ask me that, especially since the other day it was 4 years of me at Playlab, and people like, it's funny that people were like, okay, what's next? And I'm like, not to scare Jeff and Archie, I don't believe I'm leaving anytime soon. But I do imagine that I'm not going to have a design studio of my own.
Right.
I don't think I will go in that route. I believe that, like, at least that's what I want right now. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It can change,
years,
guys.
It could be different. I do want to create an experience that I keep working on, that is my own. May it be in hospitality, or may it be like I've always had a crazy dream of owning a movie theater.
Ooh,
I know.
Tell me about it if that ever happens.
Which is obviously a dying business, but there's it's my favorite activity. It goes back to me loving movies, and I love that experience. So I do want to work on bettering some type of experience in the future, but it's still in the future.
Yeah, it's still in the future.
I still think there's a lot of things that I could do at Playlab, and as long as Archie, Jeff, and everyone in the studio are aligned with what I want to do,
absolutely,
we want to do better. Saying it really is like aligned, and I think we have the same values. So
it's
for
important.
now I'm still there and trying to create like certain magic within the studio.
And I have no doubt you will keep doing so. So guys, stay tuned for that. And we have started something here at the MV series, which is trying to really, everybody back home listening to us that sees you, that gets obviously inspired by you here today. It's any creatives that are already acting in the field today, right? Is there anywhere they can possibly apply to maybe join your Playlab one day?
Yeah, of course. We have internships sometimes. It really depends because it's a small studio.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes we have openings when we're growing. But usually we do file all our applications, and I always encourage people to apply. At office@playlab.org. We do archive everything, so and we look at all applications. So please send any questions or resumes, and please, if you want to reach out to me personally,
amazing,
you can find me at Ana@playlab.org.
Ana@Playlab.
And I'm always happy to respond answer any questions. Yeah.
How exciting. I'm sure some of our creatives will be running and rushing to, try to establish connection with you guys, and hopefully one day somehow, somewhere be able to join you, right? And friend, I do want to say how inspiring it is to see a young creative such as yourself hustling your way, in this crazy industry, and now having reached the level you're in. It's truly breathtaking to watch. I'm so proud of you. Like, I can't even begin to explain. And it is so exciting to have you as an amazing example, not only for me, but for our creatives to follow, and really for other young, designers or creatives in the field to really be able to watch your steps and kind of know how to get there and how to follow them, and use you as inspiration to maybe enter this field as well. So thank you for giving me the
Oh my
honor
God.
to join me
Thank
today.
you. And I think if anyone that knows me a little bit knows I'm not a very spotlight person, but I'll do anything for this girl.
Oh,
She
I'm
is
so honored.
super kind-hearted, and I'm very excited about this project and what you're doing and shining the light on a lot of people that deserve the spotlight. So not necessarily me, but I'm very excited to see the series, and I can't wait to watch every episode.
Aw,
And you're very talented
thank
too.
you so
I'm very
much.
inspired by you, and I'm so excited to be
Thank
here.
you so much. We love you. Creatives, thank you so much for joining Anna and I today in this episode full of amazing lessons and inspiration. Before we wrap up, guys, I would like to remind you that we are streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast, as well as have additional content on our social medias, including Instagram and TikTok, all under the MV series. Guys, please subscribe and keep showing us that amazing love so we can show ours right back to you. And see you guys once again next week, right here at the MV series.